Hello, everybody. This is Aaron Marshall, and I wanted to do a quick video update of what's been happening here in Utah. As many of you know, my family and we moved out to Salt Lake City, Utah, the beginning of August to start Christi chapter here at the University of Utah. Christi, the ministry that we're a part of, Latin for the reason of Christ. We talk about why we believe what we believe as Christians, Christian apologetics. We're not apologizing for being Christians, but apologia, the Greek word apologia just means to give a defense. And so we give a defense about why we believe Christianity is true. We talk about the truth claims of the fact that God exists, the reliability of the New Testament. There was this person named Jesus who walked the earth, that he really did live, that he really did die on the cross, and that he really did rise from the dead. 3 days later, he claimed to be God. He said, "I'm going to prove it in my death and resurrection." He did it, and so he has proven himself worthy. You could argue, but then why we should give we should put our faith, we should put our trust in him, and then all the other theological issues that go along with that. So that's the ministry that we're a part of. We were in Wilmington, North Carolina, for 7 years. Starting the chapter there and running it, and. So just excited for what's happening there. We left, this year, and so there's 4 staff members that are still there in Wilmington: Tom Jaskey and Grant Forrester and Lexi Forrester and Kinza Kirkman. And by God's grace, that chapter has just exploded. Obviously, the key was me leaving, because once I left, the thing has just taken off. And I know they're getting about 80 some students that are coming on a weekly basis. They're engaging in all kinds of evangelism. And just really cool, exciting to see what God has done and with that chapter. And so now we're here, hopefully trying to start something like that. I mean, that was 7 years in the making here in Utah. And so I wanted to just give an update on what's happening in Utah and what it's like to live in Utah. I've been here for 2 months, and it's an interesting place to live. Put it that way. It is interesting. It has been exciting to be here. It's been really hard. In fact, just this week, my wife was she was just it's just hard. We don't have any real close friends here yet. We're still kind of in the middle of the church shopping, which I know is a terrible thing to say, but we're trying to meet people. And but it's interesting being here looking at churches. I mean, the state of Utah is about 3% evangelical Christian. So, for instance, we went to this church right near where we live. In South Jordan. We live in South Jordan. There's a little town called Harriman, Utah, and we went to this church on Sunday, and it was the only church in the whole town, and it was met in a rec center, and there's maybe 25 people that are there, and they've been there for a couple of years. We went to another church a couple Sundays ago that when they planted up in north of Salt Lake, they were the only church in that town. I mean, there's just town after town after town in this state that there's no churches whatsoever. I think it's 4 of the top 10 least evangelical metropolitan areas in the country are here in Utah. So Salt Lake City, actually 5 of them: Salt Lake City, Ogden, Provo, St. George. So maybe that's 4 of them. 4 of the top 10 least evangelical areas, metropolitan areas in the country are here in Utah. So the mission field is huge, and so that's been hard. I know it's been hard on us not having a Christian community that we're part of. We're hoping to find a church and kind of get plugged in. But it's also hard because we want to meet people and letting people know about the ministry. So be praying for us about that. That's been hard. But the ministry-wise, so we started off at the University of Utah. We had 3 students that were interested, and they'd actually student run had started the chapter last May, and so we started off with just 3 of us. And I've just been doing a lot of evangelism and tabling on the campus, and it's been one of the most amazing things. God, every day, just praying that God would give me one conversation, and there has not been a single day that I've been doing evangelism that I have not gotten into just an incredible conversation with a student. And so, just as an example, yesterday I was on campus and I talked to one student who was a Satanist, a professed Satanist. We talked for about 45 minutes. I talked to another student who was an atheist, and she was a chemistry major, and so she was certain that God didn't exist. And so I got a chance to challenge her actually with there's a professor at UNCW, Dr. Jeremy Morgan, who's did a lot of work with our chapter, and he's a chemistry professor and has done a lot of work on the origins of life and chemically how he thinks that that's impossible, that would happen naturalistically. There's also a professor at Rice University named a chemistry professor named James Tour, who also did a similar talk on chemically how the origins of life, he thinks it could not have happened naturalistically. So I challenged her to look at those things, and she was very interested. She'd never heard any of this stuff before. I got a chance to talk to this atheist professor who told me that he was responsible for making University of Utah an atheist campus, and got to try to challenge him a little bit, and kept trying to invite him for lunch, but he didn't seem to be too interested. So I'm going to be praying for him. He wouldn't give me his name, though. I asked him for his name and where he taught. He wouldn't give it. It was very secretive. But last night at our meeting, we're small, so we're just getting started. We met about 5 or 6 times at the University of Utah weekly. We meet with our students. And so last night we had about 10 students, 6 Christians, 1 atheist that's been coming, super nice kid, Kyle, just really asking good questions, seeking good answers. I really love his heart. He's asking the right questions. And he's really engaged and has really gotten plugged in. And then 3 girls came who I met through tabling. And one girl did not believe in objective reality. She just thought everything is subjective. Another girl was an atheist, and then an LDS girl that came. But we talked for an hour and a half, and then we ended it. Most of this, some of them stayed for another hour talking. Afterwards, I got a chance to talk to the LDS student afterwards for about 30, 45 minutes. And it's just been, it's hard because there's nobody knows the gospel, but it's also, I guess it's exciting because there's an opportunity to share the gospel with people who've never heard it before. And being able to share the good news has just been, it's been amazing. And so we've been tabling. I met a guy who's helping me table on a weekly basis. He was a fellow brother here. So when you meet other Christians here, you bond pretty quickly because there's just not that many of us here. And so we've been tabling together, and he has been doing ministry there and tabling since he's been saved. And he's been praying for there to be somebody else that we could do it together. And I was praying the same thing. So that was an answer to prayer. And so we're going out twice a week on the campus. I just having some really good conversations. I've met some atheists that we're see each other, on a regular basis. I met some LDS students that we're seeing each other on a regular basis. And so that's been really good. And so just be praying for all of those conversations, and just pray that Lord will continue to bless this, bless our ministry, and, that we'd be able to meet students, and that, by God's grace, certainly pray for Kyle, who's our friend who's been coming, who's an atheist, that he would come to know Jesus, and the girls that we met yesterday. In one of our first meetings, we had 4 Christians, 3 LDS, and 2 atheists. So it's just very different than being in the Bible Belt. But I love it. I'm excited about what God's doing here. And so the other cool thing is we met a pastor in town who wanted to partner with college groups. He wanted to do debates and discussions on campus, but a lot of the college groups there just didn't seem interested. That's what we want to do. So we said, well, we'd love to do that. So actually tonight, I'll show the flyer. I'll post this on Facebook, but we're actually having James White and Jeff Durbin, who are Christians, are going to be debating 2 atheists. One is a professor at the University of Utah on the question of, does the triune God of the Bible exist? And so I think it's going to be packed. I think we've got an auditorium of about 250 people. So I think it's going to be packed, and it gives us a chance to let people know about Ratio and meet some Christians from the community. So we're super excited about that. And then tomorrow night, Dr. White is going to do a dialogue with a Mormon. His name is Alma Allred, but it's going to do a discussion on the nature of truth. And how do we determine truth, which is just a huge discussion with LDS, because they just have this idea of subjective personal experiences. And so that's going to be a great conversation. And then on Saturday night, actually, Dr. White's going to have another debate. So he's doing 3 nights in a row where he's going to be discussing the reliability of the New Testament. So we're talking to a guy who says that the New Testament has been corrupted, which is also a big claim of the LDS Church. And so we'll talk about that, which will be really interesting. So just be praying for all these events. If you're, please just pray for those. We're super excited about the opportunity just to host these and to be a part of meeting some people who are interested in doing these kind of debates. And we're hoping we can do lots of these kind of things. We actually already have J.P. Moreland scheduled to come out here in February to do a talk on the nature of truth. So we're super excited about that, and about loving your God. His talk is going to be love your God with all your mind. So anyway, we got a lot going on. Please pray for that. Pray for our family. We're getting plugged in, kind of, but we're still, it's 2 months in now, and it is kind of lonely being out here. We want to find a home church. So pray for that. Pray for my wife as she's, beginning to miss being home and and not having those connections. So pray for her. Call and text her if you know her, and she would love to hear from you, because I think it can get lonely out here, and so the newness is beginning to wear off now, and for her, but at the same time it's just exciting to be out here, and for what God is doing. We were down to BYU 2 weeks ago. I got a chance to just hang out with some people who are down there doing some evangelism, and just broke my heart for that campus. And so anyway, who knows what God is doing, but what we want to bring lots of people here, and we want to see Utah saturated with the gospel. If you're interested we're looking on bringing a group out here at spring break from Ratio Christi chapters across the country, but anybody's going to be invited, and we're working on the logistics of that now. But if you're interested at all in coming out here and being here is just different, and getting out here and seeing what's happening out here and being in the culture, my supposition would be that that people come out here, then there would be some that would want to come out here and be a part of what God is doing out here, because this is an unreached people group. So we send mission groups to countries all over the world, but less than 3% of Utah is evangelical Christian, and so what an opportunity. It's daunting, but what an opportunity, and we certainly believe that God is big enough for all that. So anyway, I know there's a lot, there's too much more I could share, but just I'm excited about what God is doing. Pray for us, pray that we, for our family, that we, we're bonding and we're really growing closer, but that I know that certainly for my wife, that Jess, that she just wants some relationships. So we're praying that God would provide us some close friends that we can begin to have, just have a real relationship, deep relationship with out here. And pray for all these students that we're meeting. We're meeting so many students who just never heard any of this stuff, and they're listening, and we're having great conversations every day. So pray for those opportunities. I think we're about $700 short of where we need to be just to meet our monthly goals bill wise. I think we're a lot closer than that, and we actually had some support that's dropped off. So if you are at all interested in supporting what we're doing out here, with a monthly donation, that would be great. Again, 7 people do $100, and that would get us to where we need to be just for paying all our bills. And then by God's grace, maybe we could have some other support that would allow us to do some ministry out in the West and traveling and those kind of things. So if you're interested in learning more about what we're doing, please, you can email me, aaronmarshall@ratiochristi.org. You can certainly comment. I'll post this on Facebook and on our YouTube channel. So you can certainly comment, or just send me out a message that way, or email me, or you can call me. But I'd love to tell you more about what we're doing, and I would love for anybody to come out here and just be a part of, see what's happening out here, and hopefully God would break your heart for this area, this state. And we want to just bring tons of Christians out here so that we can share the good news. We're not trying to shove it down people's throat, but we just want people to know the gospel. So thanks for listening. I know it's a little bit longer than what I wanted to do, but there's just so much. I got 10 more minutes of stuff I could talk to you about. And so maybe I'll try what I'm going to try to do. We're starting a podcast. That's another thing that I'm doing. We're starting a podcast. So we're going to talk about lots of stuff that's happening, at least on a weekly basis, maybe even more than that. Maybe try to do some of these videos, more of these videos as well. So if we can, again, if I can answer any questions or let you know about any of the things that we have going on, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, because we are excited about what God is doing through this ministry in Utah, and pray for Utah, and pray for the University of Utah and the other chapter that we've got going at Weber State. And we're looking at trying to get a chapter started at some of the other universities, and by God's grace, maybe even at BYU. Which would be amazing. So thanks for listening. I just really excited about all these things, and I hope to talk to some of you who are listening and watching soon, and I can give you some more updates about what's going on. So God bless. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.